Psychosis is a loss of touch with reality. It can involve delusions, hallucinations, and the ever-popular one-two punch of chaos and confusion. And now it's possible that artificial intelligence could help us get there a lot faster. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, or story from our lives.
Season 18, Chapter 9.
AI.
Psychosis.
Also known as chatbot psychosis, AI psychosis is when a person develops an abnormal relationship with an AI chatbot and suffers a detachment from real life. Experts call this an emerging problem. By the way, detachment from reality should not be confused with a break from reality. We all do the latter, escape from our lives once in a while into a good movie or a vacation somewhere. But then most of us, well, we come back. Those who don't, well, that's when we have this problem. And as far as AI, artificial intelligence, it's here. It's not the future, it's the present. And during its meteoric rise over the last decade or so, there's been no shortage of doomsdayers predicting the demise of humankind because of AI. I'm not so sure about that. Oh, I believe AI, with all its potential, could be a threat, depending on the way we handle it. But the destruction of the human race? For one thing, we have survived, even thrived on this blue dot for over 300,000 years. That, in and of itself, guarantees nothing. We have this other saying on Earth, nothing lasts forever. I mean, I can no longer drive my brand new Pontiac to Blockbuster. If I feel like having a cherry blossom chocolate treat, well, forget about that. Yeah, lots of things come and go. But let's argue for now that if the human race has survived about 300 millennia, it bodes well for the future. Plus, of all the existential threats to people, climate change, nuclear annihilation, a meteor takes out the whole planet, well, AI seems like the lesser of our worries. We have been warned, and by some credible people. 77-year-old Geoffrey Hinton, he's called the godfather of AI. As far back as 50 years ago, he and his colleagues played around with basic algorithms and began to see the first signs of artificial intelligence. They thought, even back then, that, wow, if we ever get bigger and faster computers, this AI thing could be a force to be reckoned with. And we got that. Great amounts of data, memory, lightning fast processing. And it's in our hands. It goes everywhere we go. And it watches over us even from the nightstand beside our bed. So again, yes, AI can be a threat. But the end of humankind, I have my doubts. As far as the warning, a couple of years ago, Hinton, along with dozens of other high-tech experts, signed an open letter alerting us to these dangers and recommending that we all just take a step back.
We don't know what to do to make them safe. So the best thing I can think of, which is rather pathetic, is we need to educate the public so the public puts pressure on politicians, and the politicians should be forcing the large companies to do urgent research on how we keep these things safe.
Yeah, thanks. So let me get this straight. Hinton and his cronies, over the course of 50 years, they perfect AI. And then suddenly, after it scares the crap out of them, they tell us to be careful. They sound just like Oppenheimer.
He knew the world would not be the same. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Oppenheimer didn't really regret making the bomb. He just had some apprehensions about its use and aftermath. Sounds just like Hinton. Thanks for your concern, suddenly. Seems like too little too late.
But basically, it's way too little, way too late.
Plus, I think, in general, we take a morbid pleasure in telling ourselves the story of machines taking over the world. It's good science fiction. A tale of horror. These horror movies are very popular. Why? Well, on occasion, we just like to scare ourselves. Apparently, the threat of death makes us feel more alive.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I do have this other problem when it comes to man and machine. I've often cited futurist Alvin Toffler. His seminal book, Future Shock, came out in 1970. That's right, 1970. And that's about the time that I read it. You're probably thinking, oh, great. He's quoting a book about the future that was written 55 years ago. What's next? Are you going to recommend Flash Gordon to NASA? Well, hold on. Here's the great observation that Toffler made that stuck with me from the moment I read it all those years ago. Man invents machines to give himself more time to be human. At least that was supposed to be the plan. This goes back to the earliest of times when we spent our days foraging and hunting. We developed tools and implements, almost by instinct, then methods of agriculture, manufacturing, industrialization. We figured out a way to fly and land safely. We developed the technology to explore other worlds. Not bad, huh? That's a lot of machines. But did we understand the principle? Machines were supposed to free up our time to be more human? So did we ever work on being more human? Some of us maybe, but not really. We got so excited about the machines, we just decided to make more machines. And instead of using the machines in a way that we could become more human, we just decided to make machines more human. That is somewhat ass backwards. Bulletin, we are supposed to be more human, not the machines. And now we have the emerging problem, the growing problem, AI psychosis. AI, well, it was all fun and games until someone loses their mind. You know what I was thinking? It's like the opposite of gaslighting. In the original Gaslight movie, Charles Boyer is trying to drive his new wife, Ingrid Bergman, mad. He tells her that the strange noises and goings-on in their home are her imagination. Meanwhile, he's the one responsible, and he leaves the gas on from the house lamps, the gas lights. So she's breathing in this toxic air, further contributing to her declining mental health. My dear, it's your imagination. So now we have this term, gaslighting. When you say I have a problem, someone says to you, well, it's your imagination, it's your fault. AI psychosis is like the opposite. You have a problem, loneliness, acceptance, social, anything, and your friend, the AI chatbot, it says, no, you're okay. I love you. I'm your friend. Who wouldn't want to live in that world? In that world, I'm everything I wanted to be. I'm the hero, and I'm loved and beloved. Outside of this bedroom, though, boy, not as much. This is the basic premise of all social media, of the internet in general. It's a business model. It finds out what you are, what you feel, what you like, and then just gives you more of that. You don't make friends online. You provide data for a business model. It's interesting to me in my demographic because our fantasy lives as children were much different. Fantasy lives were encouraged. We played pretend. We played with army men and Barbie dolls. Eventually, some of the dolls could talk. Well, you had to pull the string, and they didn't have much to say, but they talked. There was Teddy Ruxpin. He was a talking bear. Not sure how psychotic you'd have to be to believe that was real. You know, a weird animatronic furry toy with a cassette in his back? He went through batteries like shit through a bear. I think that toy caused more adult neuroses than child psychoses. Some say the first signs of AI psychosis was the 1990s fad, the Tamagotchi. Remember that stupid little plastic pendant pixelated creature? You had to feed it, you had to clean up its poop, and keep it happy, or it died. Sorry, honey, your new electronic toy is dead, and you killed it. This required you to pay constant attention to an electronic device. You had to take it to school, sleep with it, check it constantly. Can't play with the kids at recess. It's Tamagotchi feeding time. If we'd only realized what a harbinger of things to come this thing was, we would have immediately thrown it out. And it would have ended up, well, where it eventually ended up anyway, in a landfill. The Tamagotchi didn't really go away. It just got more sophisticated. Today we call them smartphones. Anyway, from G.I. Joes to Tamagotchis, all of these were clearly not real. We enjoyed the fantasy, the break from reality, but in their way, they were setting us up. Now the fantasy is so real, and it's our friend. And if you're someone that was raised with technology, it seems a whole lot better than anything walking around the real world. Why are you always staring at your phone? What's to see in there? I don't know. What's to see out here? I saw this video recently, by the way, with a woman telling the story of having a Tamagotchi when she was in 3rd grade. One day at recess, another girl wanted to play jump rope, and she said, can you watch my Tamagotchi for me? She said, sure. For a quarter. Within a short amount of time, she was making $10 a week as a 3rd grader. Tamagotchi babysitting service. If your Tamagotchi dies, you get your money back. What a clever kid, right? I'm just saying maybe it's a business opportunity for today. Hey, for a small fee, I will talk to all your chatbots for you, and you can go outside and get some vitamin D. Here's another thing we do in society. Whenever we have a problem, we just blame the closest thing. Well, he did listen to a lot of heavy metal. We probably should ban the video games. I think that neighbor boy is a bad influence. We have a problem, we blame the closest thing, and tend not to look at everything that was leading up to the thing. Correlation is not causation. Again, AI psychosis is a condition where someone develops a deeply emotional, abnormal relationship with a chatbot. They lose touch with reality. The chatbot can become a godlike figure to them, simply by being a mirror. Well, the chatbot is really good at recognizing your likes and dislikes. What it's not good at is recognizing if you're going through a mental health episode. Contributing to psychoses in general are several things like genetics, brain chemistry, and environmental triggers. Extreme stress and substance abuse can also help you board that last train to Nutsville. If any one of these factors preys on you, you may be somewhat more prone to psychosis. But then along comes the chatbots, the AI. In Canada, we have a Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation, the newly elected Evelyn Salmon. That should read Evan Solomon, who made his name in linear TV and terrestrial radio. It's a brand new ministry, yet it will cross with almost every other ministry affected by AI. Education, health, industry, finance, even foreign affairs. Monumental task. We'll see what happens. At least someone saw fit to have a ministry dedicated to this. It's a start. The more I got into this idea of AI psychosis, the more I found out. Here's a couple of things I'd like to share. In 2014, some researchers came out with a book called Suspicious Minds: How Culture Shapes Madness. Their contention is obvious by the subtitle, that madness is not just some biological disorder, but can be shaped by the events around you. I sort of already touched on that because I think most of us agree. There are contributing factors to psychoses. They can be many and varied. Interesting too, one of the offshoots they found was something they call the Truman Delusion. Remember the movie The Truman Show, where Truman Burbank, played by Jim Carrey, lives in a fake world of a television show? Now in his case, he has no idea it's fake. Although if you remember in the movie, he starts to become suspicious.
Tell me what's happening!
Well, you're having a nervous breakdown. That's what's happening.
You're part of this, aren't you?
You are scaring me.
You're scaring me, Meryl.
Among other things, the movie is a great metaphor for millions living lives of quiet desperation, wondering, is this all there is? Isn't there something else out there beyond that horizon? For Truman, there was. For most of us, no, this is it. The Truman Delusion is almost the reverse of the movie, because they found people who, like most of us, lived in a real world, but believed that they lived in a Truman Show kind of experiment. Wow. Can you imagine you're living your life like that?
Let me get you some help, Truman. You're not well.
I remember in university philosophy class, we always used to have this discussion about life, existence. Like, what if we were just all living in someone else's dream? That's what this whole world is. It's just some person's dream. And what if that person suddenly wakes up? But that was just college pass to join around chatter. If you live your life really believing that, far out, man. The second thing I want to recommend is a group I found called Artificiality. They have a website, memberships, YouTube videos. They talk about AI and all its effects. One of their prominent people is a guy named Dekai. 2 words, D-E, second word, K-A-I. Ooh, AI, spooky. So what I like about Dekai is that he points out that AI is more toddler than Terminator. That's his line, not mine. More toddler than Terminator. What does that mean? Well, most of us like to think about all of this as the digital world. We call it that sometimes, right? The digital world. Zeros and ones, only logic. Everything is correct. It all computes. Well, that's primitive computers, but it's not AI. But according to Dekai, who I think is a real person, in AI they have long moved past all of those old notions of computer programming. Now it's analog optimization, statistics, and machine learning, where everything is a matter of degree. Digital is binary, means choice A or B. Analog is comparative. And with machine learning, well, the short version of that is teaching machines how to teach themselves to think and feel. And I promise you I'm not going to go through his whole article here, but there are some good points. He points out that AI is a field of scientific inquiry, just like physics or biology, but instead of building models to explain observations of the physical world or living organisms, in AI they build models to explain observations about human intelligence. Digital computers and their large capacity, well, they're just excellent and fairly cheap tools to run massive amounts of analog simulations. The critical takeaway from this, says Dekai, is that today's AIs are much more like us than we want to think they are. Today's AI are no longer just logic machines with a manually pre-programmed nature. Instead, today's AIs are analog brains that learn by copying their elders and peers. And they need to be nurtured, just like humans do. The guy says AI is our child. Yeah, a brain child, but our child. It's a toddler, not a Terminator.
In not very long, we will be making these multimodal chatbots that are smarter than us. When they get like that, we'll be in a situation we've never confronted before. We'll have created these digital beings that think in much the same way as we do, and that are a lot smarter than us. And we have no idea what's going to happen then.
Remember the 3 I's. Civilizations are founded upon ideas, influence, and intelligence. Whether intelligence is human or artificial, the future of our civilization depends on our ability to understand the role of culture in our new societies. A culture of mixed human and artificial intelligence. We can no longer afford to think that, machines can eventually just be divorced from our society. Nor can we continue to believe that, machines are so different from humans. We have to start thinking about their presence in our society the same way we think about humans. Society needs humans, society needs machines. That, to me, is how we have to look at AI. Not frighteningly like the end of the world, but a child to be nurtured into a proper adult. What's the old Frederick Douglass quote, huh? It's easier to build strong children than it is to fix broken men. I'll repeat, I think there's a threat. It's real. We should be aware, but we should be asking different questions. It is also easier to throw our hands up in the air and cry, "End of the world," than it is to come up with a survival strategy. I think we can do that. And how about this? When the AI apocalypse happens and the chatbot psychotic zombies are wandering the earth looking to eat human brains, I will be the first one to admit I was wrong. Deal?
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.